Coming up, we're joined by a very special guest to answer your questions.
You're listening to Double Time, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Preece.
Hey, Shaun Preece, how are you doing today?
I am excited, Stephen Scott. I'm always excited when I'm going to say it, the tech guru pays us a visit.
Absolutely. Someone who knows things.
I know.
It's scary around here. We don't get that very often. But I am very pleased to say that Michael Babcock is back with us as we ask Michael anything.
It's definitely Mickey, by the way.
It says on the screen when we do this on YouTube, it says Michael, so I'm totally confused.
Well, you typed it wrong.
Hey, do you know what? Let's ask him. Michael Babcock, do you prefer Michael or Mickey? Your answer in 10.
My answer is, I think I prefer Mickey. That's what I've kind of added my name on different social networks and stuff. And it's funny because I called one of our vendors for AT guys and he goes, "Hey, Mickey, how's it going?" And I'm like, wait, that he knows my name is Mickey because that's my WhatsApp name.
That's right, yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Because that's your name.
Well, can I ask, did anyone else refer to you as Mickey before Double Tap?
Oh, no, it's all you, Shaun. You're the one that
You're welcome.
Well done, Shaun.
I don't remember why, but it's all your fault.
Anyway, listen, it's great to have you here. Michael Babcock back with us, of course. Oh, we're very excited to have you here because today we are going to be answering your questions. Yes, you double tappers, you've been sending in your questions. Now, look, we do this from time to time. Basically, what we do is we take all the questions you've been sending in and we put them together and we do an episode like this. So if you have got any questions, we'll give you the contact details a bit later and you can send in your questions and we'll do this again. Michael, I know people love it when you come on and we do this. So shall we just get cracking? Shall we dive into the first question?
I'm nervous. I don't know these questions.
Well, that's right. Normally we give you a little bit of a hint ahead of time, don't we? But didn't really get around to that this time.
We couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, it involved a bit more preparation than time, to be perfectly honest.
Mr. F doesn't think you guys are professionals now, does he?
No.
God bless you, sir.
Well, let's dive into the first question. This one comes from Lewis in Toronto. Let's hear your question, Lewis.
Hi there. My name is Lewis. I'm calling from Toronto. I'd be interested in finding out from you two, which you seem like sometimes you know what you're talking about. Smart speakers. What would be the smart speaker to go with for quality, sound, price-wise, and everything else? And the one that seems like will still be around in the future. So, yeah, if you could touch on this topic on one of the shows, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Lewis in Toronto. That seems like an easy one, although I must admit, when you say be around in the future, that's a little bit tougher. Right, look, our guest Michael is here. I'm going to let you go first. I, of course, have thoughts. I'm sure you do too, Shaun. But Mickey, what's the best smart speaker?
So, Lewis, if I were in your shoes, would go buy an Echo Dot. Probably the 5th generation. Or if you need to save a little bit of money, I'm pretty happy with the Echo Pop sound as well. And sometimes good sound is subjective. Do you need to fill one room of a studio apartment or do you need to fill a 20-room house? Because really it depends on how much space you're trying to fill. But for me, I would jump in on the low end of the Echoes, the cheap Echoes. Shaun?
Oh, wow. That was quicker than I thought. But again, it is very subjective, this, because when you do say audio quality and also price, I would actually go, you know what, jump in at just slightly higher than the Echo Dot. Go for the, as Stephen calls it, the Echo Big. I think it's the Echo 4th gen. It's the big ball. Costs around, what, $80 or something like that. And if you really want to go for it, get 2 of them and stereo pair them. If you want to really enjoy your music, I think they sound really, really nice. The big difference here, I suppose, between them, you could go for the Google smart speaker, the Google Nest. But honestly, I'm not convinced that's going to stay around and be here in the future myself. I think the Echoes definitely will. If you want purely sound and audio quality, it's got to be the HomePod. But then you're sacrificing some of the smarts. You know, the Echo is very good for home integration. It does depend on some of the, if you have smart devices in your home, whether they're HomeKit enabled or not. But I think you can't go wrong with the Echo. I'm going to agree with Mickey.
Okay, all right. I mean, I hear you. I mean, look, I kind of agree because I want to say the Apple HomePods. I love the sound of the Apple HomePods. They have Siri in them. And look, that's a whole other story. But look, honestly, I think in terms of price, you are getting a lot for your money. I'd say you're getting better for your money. The Echo Bigs, you get 2 of those together, and you can often get them on a sale if you hang around for Prime Day. Of course, there is the talk of these new Amazon Echoes coming out soon. So, we'll find out if that's going to be a thing, and that might bring the price down of the other ones, which is good news. Amazon will always do a sale off on the other ones, which is good. You get 2 of those, Echo Bigs, as I call them. You're going to find yourself with some really nice speakers, and you can stereo pair them together. They sound great, and I would say they sound just as good as anything else. But my standards have dropped considerably since I started listening to music off smart speakers, I'll be honest.
I've never heard the Echo Big, so maybe I should get a couple of those and check them out. I went to Echo Dots because I would say, like Stephen, HomePod Minis or HomePods, because I really like the sound of them, but Siri just has so much to be desired. And I have not heard anyone mentioning Siri getting intelligent on the HomePods.
No, but no one's talking about it.
No, we just don't know.
No,
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be making a huge difference. Now, I know there are people out there, and I'm thinking immediately of Greg in Arizona, who's listening to this and screaming at his radio right now saying, what are you talking about? They're amazing. There are cool things you can do, and there are. But I think for the price, although you do mention the HomePod Mini, and that's the one I tend to forget about, if I'm honest. And you're right. There's talk of a new HomePod Mini 2 this year. So, again, it depends on what you're looking at. It depends on the devices you use. But, of course, one of the benefits of the Echo, which I use this all the time, in my bedroom, I've got a little Echo Spot that I have next to the bed, and I just Bluetooth to my phone all the time on that. And it was great, is I can just say once it's done, once the connection is set up, I can just say to Lady A, connect to Bluetooth. She will find my phone and connect to it. I can then tell her to disconnect, and she respects that, and it's great. So I think there's some really cool things about the Echo, and it does seem that this year it's going to get smarter. About blooming time, I think. Let's be honest about it. Yes. So yeah, I think that's good. I mean, it's funny, we haven't really touched on Google at all. There isn't really much to say about Google, but there is talk of Google again getting better. The Google Nest or Google Home or whatever they're calling it this week, that is still available, right? But it's not really been updated. It certainly doesn't have a huge amount of smarts in it, like we're seeing on other speakers.
I always got frustrated with using Google. And of course, this was before Gemini came out. And I don't know, have they put Gemini on the Google speakers? Because if they did, that could make it more valuable. But I don't think they have.
No, not yet. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it is slightly tricky. It depends what you want. A foundation level, the Echo is just more widely supported. By things. That's what it comes down to. But it does depend on your ecosystem. But you can't go wrong. Get an Echo and see how you get on.
Right, let's hear what... thank you, Lewis, for the question. I hope that helps. And do let us know what you decided to go for. I will say, once you buy one, and I've had many friends who've done this, they buy one Echo speaker and then, they say, that's it, I've got my Echo speaker, I don't need any more. And they say, I could have one in the bedroom, and I could have one upstairs, and I could have one here. Yeah. And then they realize all the different ones you can get. Echo Flex, which is the plug-in one, I really like. That's useful for lots of things, great for, hallways and things if you want to have a smart speaker in there.
Yeah, doorbell chime I use mine for with my Blink. Yeah.
I have an Echo question for you, gentlemen. Then before we move on to the next question, if you guys can ask me anything, I can ask you guys anything.
No, this isn't a line.
Echoes in your bathroom.
No, I don't think that's right. The thing says ask Michael anything. It doesn't say ask 2 idiots from the UK anything.
So I was visiting my sister, and her kids went and took a shower, and I heard one of them talking, and then all of a sudden there was music coming out of their Echo, and I'm like, do you have one of those in your bathroom? And my sister's like, yeah, that's how the kids listen to music in the morning and this and that. I never even thought about putting one in the restroom. Do either of you?
Well, we can't in the UK because we don't have plug sockets. We don't have any power sockets in our bathrooms.
Well, you have shaver plug. I always think that should be the next thing. If I ever get my bathroom refitted, I want USB plugs in there. Because my electric toothbrush is a USB thing. Everything is USB, not those funny 2-prong things. But I have seen, we recently bought one of those shower speakers, right? With a suction cup on the back, put it on, very cheap and cheerful. And it said, with built-in Lady A. I thought, that's genius. Perfect.
Such a con.
It is an absolute scam. It isn't built in at all. No. It's just, you can Bluetooth from your phone and link, through the Lady A app. It just tells you to download the Lady A app on your phone. So it's a total rip-off. But no, I don't know of a way to do that unless you got one of those battery stands that you could used to get for the dots. Maybe I would
you can
use
get them
that.
for all of those now. And certainly the Echo Dots now, and I don't know about the Echo Spot, but I imagine you can. Certainly if you go onto Amazon, you can have a look, and there are lots of different options where some of them just plug right in to the device, and it gives power to the Amazon Echo, and there's a battery base that it's connected to, and you just plug that into a USB socket to charge, and then you can take it with you around the house. We did that summer last year in Scotland. Of course, that was a Tuesday, if I remember rightly.
Yes.
I remember it very well. 2
p.m. to 3 p.m.
That's right. Yes, that's right. In amongst you always know it's summer in Scotland. Warm rain. That's how you know it's summertime.
Of course, you could put a
you can take
Bluetooth
it outside.
speaker in there.
You could.
And
You
just
could put
link any Echo to it.
You could get. What I did in my kitchen was I got those ceiling speakers. They weren't very expensive, just obviously the installation. We were lucky we were having the kitchen redone at the time. And it's a great opportunity. This is the tech guy, right? This is the tech guy approach when my wife is saying, okay, I want this and I want this, and I want this kind of setup and I want this kind of cooker and I want this kind of whatever. I'm saying, yeah, what tech can I get in here whilst this place is ripped apart? And for me, it was getting the Bluetooth, well, not even Bluetooth speakers, just wired speakers into
in the ceiling.
The ceiling. And I have same thing, right? So I have an Echo Flex, which is plugged in, which is great because it means I don't have any trailing wires. There's nothing lying around. I just have this little Echo Flex, which is a solid unit. You plug that into the wall, and I can talk to it. Now, the speaker on it is terrible, dreadful, worse than even the first Amazon Echo. But then what I can do with that is I can just, again, connect it to Bluetooth. I have a little amplifier connected to my speakers, which emits Bluetooth. I can connect to that and just say to the Echo, connect to Bluetooth. She connects to the kitchen speakers, done. And I have beautiful sound coming out of there. So loads of ways to do it. But yeah, and it's funny because you touched on the suction cup speaker or whatever it was. There are lots of speakers out there, high-end speakers, that have got the Lady A support, Google support built in. But it's not really the same thing, is it? Because you miss features like the intercom functionality and things like that. You don't get that in those. If you buy a Sonos speaker, for example, you're not going to be able to do drop-in. You're not going to be able to do, the announce all
Something
features.
else.
There's lots of different things, and it's annoying. I remember I was on my way, got on the bus, all excited to go buy myself a Sonos speaker. I was going to buy 2 Sonos speakers, actually. Got on the bus to go into town, listening to a review, and the reviewer says, now just remember, when you get this, you're not going to get all these features. And he rounded off a number, including drop-in and all the rest. I got off the bus, crossed the road, and just got the bus back home again. So I'm not even bothering going to see them, because I'm never going to use this. So yeah, but hope that helps, Lewis. It is a difficult one when you're buying these things. There's so many out there, but yeah. Try it out, test it out, and of course with Amazon you get great return as well, so you can always send it back. Renee has been in touch with a question about getting hands-on with tech.
Good morning, guys. This is Renee from Kentucky. I enjoy you all's podcast very much. I learn a lot from you all, and I appreciate it. What I'm needing to know is, do you all know of any central location that a person can put their hands on different apparatuses? As you all know, over the last couple of years, we've had a great increase in things for the blind, wearable things, phone, canes, the Trek, all kinds of different things. And it would be a great help if there is some location, central location, or maybe 2, one on East Coast, one on West Coast, or whatever, and I don't know if it's doable. Just what's your all's thoughts about that? So it'd be great to hear what everybody thinks about that.
Michael, I'm going to go to you on that one. That sounds like one for our US correspondent.
Yes.
So NFB in Baltimore has a tech lab where you can go put your hands on technology and check them out. I've never visited. I've read a couple of things, and I'm pretty sure it's in Baltimore. Someone's going to write and let us know if I am wrong, which is perfectly fine. Please give us that feedback. But I don't know of anything on the West Coast, and this conversation has come up a couple of times. I think that's one of the reasons to be involved in maybe not an organized consumer organization that like the ACB or NFB, if that's what you don't want to get involved in, because those do come with politics, like any large group of individuals. But one of the perks of that is you get to go to the conventions, whether that be your state convention or the national convention. And a lot of times that's where people can go to put their hands on technology to play with it. Or going to a place that is coming up here pretty soon, CSUN. That's where I got my hands on Glide for the first time. And I put it off for, last year was my first year going. And now I think I'm going to try to make it as many times as I can, because it is a good opportunity to play with that technology and get familiar with it. But I'm not aware of another centralized just location you can go put your hands on tech.
Yeah, it's a challenge, isn't it? Because, you can't just walk into a Best Buy and say, hey, let's try a Braille display, or let's try a Victor Reader, or whatever. There just isn't that availability. It is either these traveling events or these set events per year that you can go to. There may be local organizations in your area, and it's worth bringing this up. Maybe there is something locally you may not even be aware of that happens every so often.
He's in Kentucky, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's the APH there too, American Printing House for the Blind. I imagine they have some technology you can put your hands on as well.
Oh, definitely will. Yes, I was going to say, just contact whatever sight loss organization is closest to you. And I guarantee, even if they might not have, the very latest in tech there, maybe just canes and level liquid indicators, but the point is that they will have someone there that may have, you can get in contact with someone else, another member, another blind user that has, a Meta Ray-Bans or something that's quite willing to show you what they can do. So definitely get in contact with your local sight loss organization.
I mean, it would be good if there was just a place you could go, right? But is that possible? I mean, it's not really, I guess.
Where everyone knows your name. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not really possible.
Is there one in Boston? I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I again, this is the ongoing issue. I think it's just there's just not enough places out there for people to go and get hands on with this stuff, especially when you talk about the kind of money we're dealing with here. And of course, there's a challenge getting companies to send you stuff on loan as well, right? Because if you want to try out something that's $5,000,
yes,
you're probably not going to get that for a week's trial.
Yeah.
So
at least not without putting a credit card down, just in case you don't send it back. And
that's right.
And if I had $5,000 to put down to hold something, I would just probably go buy it and return it or something. So that's difficult.
Okay, well, look, we'll open this up to the audience, and perhaps listeners in Kentucky might be able to help us out on that. And of course, beyond that, for traveling purposes, if Renee has to travel, then where would he be best to go? It's a great question. Thank you for raising it, because we can help each other out with the answers to that one. Let's move on to Charla, who's got a question about calendar apps.
Hi, Stephen. Hi, Shaun. I'm writing to see if you have any suggestions for accessible calendar apps for the iPhone. The native app is clunky, especially when trying to look up future dates and times. Until recently, I used VO Calendar, which was great until the developers stopped maintaining it, and now it's full of random birthdays and virtually useless. Any suggestions? I listen to your podcast every day. Charla.
Thanks, Charla. I appreciate that. You know what? This so annoys me that you said that VO Calendar's not working anymore.
It's the first thing that came to my head.
Yeah. So a friend of mine told me, I had no idea about it until last year. And he said it's such a great app. And I thought, wow, yeah, definitely like that. Although I must admit, the last time I tried it, I didn't find it quite as good. Michael, what's your take on this? Because there's obviously lots of different calendar apps out there. There's quite a few I've heard about people talking about.
Fantastical is where my mind went. There are some focus issues. I'll be fully transparent. Sometimes focus does jump to random places. Also, I wonder what specific issues they're having with the calendar, because I had issues with the native calendar app until I realized that I can go back and find the month view and then find the day and then drill into where my events are. But I am pretty happy with Fantastical, and it used to just be iPhone and Mac. There is a version of Fantastical that's currently in beta, and I didn't sign anything saying I can't talk about it. So if I'm not supposed to talk about it, sorry, Fantastical. But they have improved a lot of the accessibility challenges that were available when they originally released the Fantastical on Windows, because there was some big concerns about that. So if cross-platform is important, using a calendar or using a tool like Fantastical that gives you access to it on all of your platforms is good. The other thing to think about is, if you're not if you are using Google Calendar, going to calendar.google.com in your Chrome browser, disabling your virtual viewer if you're a JAWS user or browse mode. I know that's not on the phone, but that's a good way to navigate the calendar as well.
Yeah, I mean, I use the Mac Mail app, Mac Calendar, I should say, and it is really good. I find it actually really good, although it did take me quite a bit to learn how to navigate that. On the PC, Shaun, what is on there beyond? Because I use Outlook for everything.
I have no idea. I don't use calendars. I hate calendars.
Well, I was going to say you're the worst person to ask, as we figured out in this trying to get started on this show today.
I accepted this meeting as I entered it. Yes, of course. On Windows, you got the Outlook calendar. Hopefully, I'm going to get some tips and hints on how to use that. You have the built-in calendar app as well, but honestly, I find them all really confusing to use. I tend not to use them at all, so I'm going to throw that out to the listeners when it comes to an accessible calendar app, because I only thought of VO Calendar for the iPhone. So yeah, honestly, I'm not the right person to ask on this one.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to listen.
No, I'm sorry. No, I've let you down.
Do you feel you've Shaun, you haven't let me down. You've let yourself down.
Oh,
that's what you've
worse.
done. Yeah.
Moving on.
Next question.
Let's go to Narina. She has a question on accessible televisions.
Dear Stephen and Shaun, first of all, a Happy New Year to you both. I listened to your video on accessible televisions via the RNIB, and Shaun said that he had a Samsung, which sounded just like what I might need, but you mentioned that it was a Series 8 2017. So, do you still have that television, or is there a later model that would be better? At the moment, I have a Panasonic and used a port-set TV recorder, and I know it is old hat and has never been very reliable, so do not want to continue with that. But then I have another Panasonic in the bedroom with a TV Onyx recorder, which is great. Shaun, you said that your TV spoke when changing channels, settings, program guide, and if you want to record, it even spoke that. Does that mean it has a recording system inside the television, or do you have to connect it to a TV Onyx box? As I have mentioned before, I do not have a smartphone, just a Synaptic, so I do not want to connect a television to a smartphone. I just want things to talk and record. In the past, the RNIB used to have a list of different models and makes of televisions, but cannot find anything on my search. Also, do not want a big TV. Around 36 inches would be fine, as I am totally blind and also got a hearing problem, so it has to have good speech and volume without being a nuisance to Kath, who I live with. Look forward to hearing from you both with some advice of model numbers. Many thanks. Kind regards, Norina.
Thank you, Narina. Good to hear from you. Glad to hear you're well. And also, this is a great question because it comes up time and time again. Now, this is interesting. We're going to get sort of two sides of the Atlantic on this one from the sort of viewpoints, because I don't know if there's a huge difference these days. There certainly used to be, but I don't know if there's as much of a difference these days. So, Michael, tell us about the state of accessible television in the States.
So my accessible television, and I'll give kind of a smart aleck answer to this, and then a real in-depth is plug an Apple TV into it, because that is the best experience. Now, it sounds like that might not be a solution for the listener. So I don't like the voice of it, but you can use a TV that has the Roku operating system built into it. And I don't know any specific models that would be useful, but if you search for something that's driven by Roku or Fire TV, then you'll be able to access that TV right away. I have heard a lot of people have good luck with Samsung TVs. I had a Samsung TV for about 3 weeks, and then let's just say blind people shouldn't shoot Nerf guns inside. It was a 65-inch curved TV, and that's not covered under the warranty, so we'll leave it at that. But Samsung or LG also.
No Nerf coverage, forget it. Hello, Narina. I will say, look, here in the UK, just because I'm sure everyone is thinking of the Apple TV, but the Apple TV isn't great for watching live TV here in the UK. So the Samsung range, and yes, I still have that Samsung TV. It works well. The speech, honestly, is really irritating. It's not a great voice, but with all that said, everything is accessible on it. The recorder is built into the TV. You just need to plug in a pen drive or external hard disk and you're ready to go. It's all controlled from the remote control. And any Samsung TV you get now from the last, I believe it's 4 years, anything that's a Samsung Smart TV should be accessible and have the guide read out, everything when you browse the channels read out. And if you get one which does have a recording facility, all that should be read out as well. So for using it for live TV, a TV should be absolutely fine. But we've got so much more choice now. I believe, Sony, Stephen, you've got a Sony, I believe, which is accessible. We've just got an LG, a very small portable for the bedroom, which is great, really accessible. Has no recording option though, but that is another option. There's just so many out there now, but you just need to make sure before you buy it, it does have, well, look for accessibility features. I believe mostly it's called Voice Guide is usually what it's called. That's the Samsung name for it, but it does cross over to other brands as well. Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, it is tough, right? Because there are less and less, there's loads of brands out there, right? It's challenging to find ones that are accessible, and what we mean by accessible is being able to get into all those settings, all those functions, all those menus, all that stuff, and be able to do all this in an efficient way, right? Because some of them are not, let's be honest, some of them are not that great. I have a TCL TV, which I find really, really challenging. It has TalkBack in it, but it's not great. It's not brilliant. It's slow. Yes. It's sluggish. I hear good things about Samsung, the latest editions of Samsung. I think, Norina, you'll be safe in buying a Samsung TV in the last, 2 years, 3 years worth of versions that have been out. Michael, when you tried the Samsung, did you, other than smashing it over the head with a Nerf gun?
Yeah, he liked it so much he shot it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, old Elvis over here.
My wife was not happy.
No, I bet. I can imagine. Did you actually get a chance to try any of those accessibility features?
I did, and it from what I remember, when we turned it on and we just sat on the home screen, I believe it started talking and giving us directions for how to enable accessibility. Well, so hopefully that will help with the out-of-box experience, because there's nothing like knowing that something has accessibility, but you can't turn it on. That is so frustrating.
Yes. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
I think Samsung might be your best option here, because if you're saying, I haven't tested this, but if a new edition of the TV has that built in at the beginning, and Samsung they have committed a lot to accessibility. They have committed a lot of time and effort to it. And I would say they've gone a little bit above and beyond the others. It's not much, we're not raising the bar very high here, but they have gone a little bit further than the others. Sony have got TalkBack built in. I think they have their own voice guidance system built in as well, from my memory. Their LG, I've never tried it, but yeah, you've tried that. You like that?
I was really impressed by LG, by that small. Obviously, none of us can see the screen anyway. So in the bedroom, we wanted the smallest TV we could get, and that was
which is what Norina's looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The only issue with this one was, as I mentioned, you cannot record things. So
can't you plug a hard drive into it? Is that the whole point of the recording?
It's not built into the OS, so
it's just for viewing the TV.
It's just for viewing the TV
and consuming it. Another thing is there's this amazing resource called Be My Eyes that has a directory of different companies in it. And I would almost just start picking up the phone and calling LG, calling Sony, calling Samsung to see, here's my requirements. What TVs do you think might be a best fit? And those numbers are right there. You don't have to go search the web for them.
Do you know something? That's a fantastic idea. Now, Norina, you have the Synaptic phone, so not entirely sure if you're going to be able to access that.
Be My Eyes on Synaptic, yeah, I'm not sure.
Must investigate that. It is an Android phone, though. You would have the ability to get Be My Eyes onto it.
Yeah. We will hear from our listeners. I'm sure we'll get lots of feedback to this, with specific model numbers, because I know that is very helpful.
We're going to reach out to these companies. We're going to reach out and try and get that list back together again, because it feels like there is a list that needs to be built to kind of just give people a sense. It is challenging across countries because you have different models, different types, different names across countries. So I remember when Panasonic, for example, first brought out, as I remember, one of the first to bring out the talking TVs here in the UK. I remember in America, the different model numbers, nobody could figure out which one which was. And of course, what's even worse is when you go into a store and you ask someone, they have no idea what you're talking about. Well, of course the TV talks. It's got a speaker in it. No, I don't mean that.
Is it accessible? Yeah, it's got subtitles.
Yeah, exactly,
No.
that's right. Or yeah, you can turn on audio description. Yeah, but can I work the thing? So
Yeah.
that's always the challenge. Okay, great question, Arena. Thank you. I hope that helps. One that actually, just thinking of it, one we didn't mention there was the Amazon Fire TV. I haven't tried it, but it has got voice view built in. Can you watch and record on those?
Hang on.
I don't know.
We need to be careful here because it gets confusing. You can get an actual TV with a screen, which they call a Fire TV,
Yes.
which is basically a Fire Stick, which is a separate thing, but built into a TV. Now, I've heard, and I've asked this question myself as well, are these all accessible? Because an Amazon Fire TV, let's call it a set-top box, but it's a stick, that is accessible. But are all, if you buy a TV with a screen, that says it's a Fire TV, are they all accessible? Honestly, I don't know. They should be. I've heard good things and bad things about these. Sometimes they are so slow every time you move up or down that it becomes incredibly frustrating.
So I'm saying it's the usability versus the accessibility again.
Yes, I would get, if you're going down the Fire TV route, I would make sure you get a recommendation and maybe see if you can get hands-on and see if it is actually usable.
Okay. Narina, good luck with it. Let us know how you got on. Let's move on to someone somewhere. I like these people when they get in touch and don't give us names, but they do give us these descriptions. Someone somewhere.
Hi, Double Tappers. I'm a relatively new listener. Found the show earlier this year after far too long staring into the void of blindness and tech podcasts in my life. I spent my formative years listening to a certain slate of shows from a certain ESPN, without the E. But then I finally came across your show and was immediately hooked. I appreciate the honesty and vulnerability, the snark and banter, and especially the community of listeners you've grown. This is my first time emailing because I am shy, but I'm also a bit pedantic. So here goes. Overcast has a setting, which can be enabled all the time or per podcast or episode, called Smart Speed. It is the thing that cuts out all the silences and breaths and such. I tried it once for a few minutes and got so anxious from it. Ha ha.
Yes.
It's next to the setting, Voice Boost, that will normalize or compress the audio so that every voice comes in at around the same volume. I find that feature useful if I'm listening to something on a plane or in a car. Oh, also, Twitter's original 140 character limit comes from the days where SMS could only send 160 characters at a time. Twitter, @names, could only be 20 characters, so that the most one could send, because tweets could be texted, was 160 characters. I haven't used Twitter in years, so I'm not sure if the limit on handles has changed. Anyway, hope that clears up a few things. Okay, now I have a question for you and the rest of the tappers. Can anyone tell me, or point me in the direction of information, about the accessibility of certain audio interfaces? Focusrite Scarlett's and the Behringer UMC line seem popular, but exactly how are they accessible? Do they have tactile buttons? Do you install an app that will read stuff out? Is there something that is more accessible than those lines? Okay, deep breath. Thanks again for your quality content, honest takes, great community, and incredible banter. All the faff, all the time. Is that correct? I'm American. Lol. Keep tapping and pet Bob Plant for me. Someone somewhere in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, well, Bob's baby is just right behind me over here, so yeah, we can give him a little pat later. Michael.
Don't ask Michael what that's about.
But Michael knows. Here's the thing. Listen, here's the thing. We have actually used this email before. We have played this in. So some of you, the eagle-eared amongst you, will be saying, yeah, we've heard this already. But I wanted to bring this up because I know this question is something you, Michael, alone are equipped to answer.
Yes.
I'm equipped to answer. Someone somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, which is where I happen to be as well, just saying.
Is it you?
Well, I don't know. What was my question?
So accessibility of audio interfaces. What's a good option? Because look, I know you've been playing around with lots of different things.
You go through one a week. You try them all.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you guys. Zoom's cutting out. Don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I have been using the Vocaster recently. Well, off and on. The Vocaster 2. And how that is accessible is there are physical push buttons that you press on it and physical knobs that you can turn. But there's also software, companion software, that you can open up and navigate with your screen reader and either make adjustments to or verify the adjustments that you've made. I have also played with the Audient Evo. I sold my 8 that I had to buy something. I don't remember what it was, but I sold the 8 and shipped it to Hawaii. So someone in Hawaii is enjoying it. And I bought that because of some of the self-voicing features that came with it as well. It has physical push buttons on it as well, easy to feel. And then you can hear audio feedback from the software in the Audient Evo software on Windows and on Mac. And it'll either self-voice or you can go in and explore it with VoiceOver or JAWS. I know there for a while, Focusrite did not have, their Scarlet line was not accessible. I don't specifically know which ones are now. I would say look for the latest generation of them because they have the now accessible software that's the underlying technology that the Vocaster is using because they're made by the same company.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of people talk about these kind of devices. Now, look, I guess it depends, Michael, isn't it, on what you're doing with it. So if this is to enhance a meeting that you're doing regularly, a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting, something like the Vocaster is a great option because, and to be perfectly honest, unless you're planning to start a band or, you bring in 5 people to do a podcast or something, you probably don't need much more than a Vocaster or those Evo, those lower end Evo devices. And I say lower end only in terms of the numbers. I noticed on the Evo, I think it's a 16 or whatever that big one is that I got.
Yeah,
incredibly complicated.
It can be for sure.
And it's like, this is not for a beginner. I'm totally lost. I'm learning my way through it, but it's tough. It's quite a lot to deal with. Whereas the Vocaster, Shaun, you started out, and I think you were quite surprised at how much control you had over it on Windows.
Yeah, the Vocaster was absolutely fine. As Michael said, the software totally accessible, but it's tricky. Sometimes it doesn't even matter if the software isn't accessible. I know it seems weird to say that, but once you set it up, you can change a lot of the settings through either Windows system settings or the Mac. If you're changing the microphone volume, for example, I will go into Windows Sound Control and change the volume of the microphone there. Or in the Mac, you've got total control over separate things there as well. So sometimes you can almost ignore the audio interface software. But again, I've got to make a caveat with that. It depends what you're trying to do. That's the key here. Yeah,
I think that something like the Vocaster is a great option. There are 2 flavors of it, Michael. Is there like a better option? There's no difference in accessibility between the 2, right? The Vocaster 1, the Vocaster 2.
Yeah, there's no difference in the accessibility of the 2. In retrospect, so I started with the Vocaster 1 because I'm cheap, and I'm like, I want something accessible, but
of course,
but when I hit the limitations of the Vocaster 1, which means I actually didn't read the specs and realize that the 1 did not come with Bluetooth input. So again, going back to what Shaun was saying, it depends on what it is you need. If you want something that you can connect your phone to either do demos of or to record content from, then go with the Vocaster 2. And honestly, at the price points now, it's really worth just getting that extra, having a little, if it's attainable, having a little more inputs and a little more ability, and just paying a little extra for it's going to give you the best of both worlds.
And what's the cost of that in US? Do you know?
So they play with the cost quite regularly. The Vocaster 2 was $249. It came down to $99 for a little bit, and so it ranges between $99 and $249 depending on the time that you're buying it.
Right, okay. Well, look, I hope that helps you somewhere. Really hope that helps you. Listen, if you've got a question or perhaps something that you would like to say on the show or in follow-up on anything we've been talking about, here's how you can get involved with Double Tap.
Get in touch with Double Tap. Email feedback at doubletaponair.com. Leave us a voicemail at 1-877-803-4567. And now you can send an audio or video message to us on WhatsApp. That number is 1-613-481-0144.
And you can send in your questions to us here at Double Tap. I'm having some fun today. Are you enjoying yourself, Michael?
I am. It's been an interesting day.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? I love this.
It is. I think I like
Interesting.
not having a warning of what the questions are because then I got to think on my feet. So we'll have to do this again for sure.
Yeah, he's Googling in the background. Don't.
I did not say I wasn't Googling things.
He is good at
and
that.
no, it's Chat GPTing it. Did you see now that even as of when we're recording, even free Chat GPT users without even signing into an account can now use the Chat GPT search.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Oh, I did not know that.
didn't
I'm
know
going
that.
to check that out. Very good.
Yeah.
Are you finding it
Copilot
good? Yeah, because it's...
Can I just say, Copilot keeps whistling at me now. What's going on there?
That's weird.
It
You should
whistles
get
and
that
says,
looked at, Shaun.
I'm not available at the minute. Try again later on. Like it's on a tea break or something. It's having a smoke.
So in the
Maybe
back.
that's how they get you to pay for it.
Yes.
It's like, I can't help you right now. Someone else who pays me is taking priority.
Oh, dear.
Only Microsoft could spend, 10 million or 10 billion or whatever it was on ChatGPT, and Copilot Pro is just, or even Copilot, hasn't even got up-to-date information. It looks back to like 2023 or something.
How
with
dare you? I
information.
still love it, by the way. It's just been updated on Windows.
I like the voice. I do
You
like
can
the
trigger
voice.
it with Alt Space and, anyway, sorry,
Yeah,
carry
all
on.
right, whatever.
It just whistles at you constantly.
Yeah, sounds great. Sounds like an absolute joyous time.
Why does Copilot whistle at Shaun? Let's see what ChatGPT says.
Let's see what GPT says on that one, yeah. Right, let's get to Frank's question. This is on the subject of music transfer.
Hi all, I have a dilemma. I have all my music files on a desktop computer using Windows Media Player, but I now use a laptop, mainly for convenience sake. All my music is in MP3 format, but I believe that the program I have on my laptop, VLC, downloads into WAV. I'm not sure how to use VLC yet, but if I could find a better program, I would. Is it possible to download files onto a USB from my PC and then transfer them to VLC on my laptop? I have tried loading Windows Media onto my laptop, but without success. Can you help? Thanks for a great show. Stephen, stop mincing around. Regards, Frank from a very cold northeast England.
What am I mincing about? What are you talking about?
I don't know,
Stephen
but
can
stop
answer
it.
that question. It's all his fault.
I don't know what that means. I will definitely stop mincing about. Right, Michael? So this is kind of a multi-part question, isn't it? Because we're talking there about transferring audio files. That's one thing. But also getting it to work specifically in VLC. Clearly, like lots of us, Frank likes Windows Media Player.
Yeah. I can't relate to the liking of Windows Media Player. I was never fond of it, so I'm not even going to pretend. VLC, though, is usable. There are several keystrokes. What I would first of all do to answer that question about VLC is, yes, it can be used by JAWS. Google keystrokes, because I guarantee there are discussion forums where people have talked about how they efficiently navigate and control VLC from a keyboard standpoint using JAWS or NVDA. I think they kind of answered their own question, though, because it sounds like they want to move their files from their desktop to their laptop by adding them to a thumb drive and then copying them over to the laptop. Is that what you got?
Yeah, I must admit, I'm not entirely clear because it almost sounded like there was some sort of library being set up, and using a library that's built into Windows Media Player or VLC to browse through the music. I mean, download into WAV in VLC, I honestly, I'm a little bit confused by that. But yes, I mean, if you've got a load of MP3s on your desktop, simply go to the folder where they are, do Control-A to copy them all, hit Control-C, that will copy them to the clipboard, stick in your pen drive, and then navigate to that in File Explorer, and Control-V will paste them into your pen drive, and then just take that over to your laptop and place them wherever you want on your laptop File Explorer, in a music folder, for example. And VLC, when you hit Enter on an MP3, it will just open in the default media player, which in VLC's case will be that one. And I use VLC. I don't use any of the fancy features. I hit space to play and stop. I believe it's Alt left and right to skip through and back. There is a menu bar at the top, so if you want to know what the keystroke for skip is, it will tell you in there. So I think unless we're missing something here, then you want to set up a sort of music library inside one of these players. Honestly, all we're talking about here is transferring files from a desktop to a laptop. So, yeah, the pen drive, as you said, you've answered your own question, just copy and paste.
Or put them in Dropbox and then sign into Dropbox on both of your computers, and then your music stays up to date as well. So that might be another solution for you. And don't convert them to WAV unless you actually need to, because that's going to be huge compared to the MP3s you already have.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are using FLAC these days because it's, it doesn't reduce the quality, but it does make that file size a lot smaller, which is really useful.
Can I just add as well, quickly, Windows Media Player should still be in your copy of Windows. You don't usually have to put it on there. It should. So if you're in the Start menu and type Windows Media Player, because there is Windows Media Player Classic still in Windows 11 right now.
Okay.
So check it's not on there.
Does that not go away? Because I know that the new Media Player's turned up on mine.
Yes, so the new one's there, but Classic, unless they've taken it away in one of the recent updates, Classic was also on there. And if you could only see it if you go to the Start menu and type Windows Media Player Classic.
Okay.
And if you just type in media player comes up as well. And then you can down through, there's Windows Media Player Legacy or Media Player comes
Legacy,
up.
Thank you. Yeah.
One thing I've been playing with recently, and it kind of similar thing actually with Shaun and I, we were using OneDrive. And that is it's funny, right? Because OneDrive is one of those things that it's just one of those things that just annoys me. It just pops up every so often. Says, "Hi, I'm OneDrive. Do you want to do something?" And I'm like, "No, not really." And so I do pay for Microsoft Office. I'm on the basic level package. It's just the entry level, whatever it is, package, $6 a month. I know it's probably gone up to $9 now because they've increased the dollar price. But I use that, and I do therefore get 1 terabyte of space. And I haven't really used it for much. But, and I'm a Mac user, so using something like the Mac and you have desktop sync with iCloud, you can put something on your desktop on one Mac, open up the other Mac, and it's just there. And I thought with Microsoft, that will never work the same way. But it does. It actually does. And you can have stuff in your documents folder. You can have it all organized. You can share between different devices. So you can almost mirror what's on one machine to the other. So it's a great way to transfer files. Does have its flaws, they all do, but if you're paying for Microsoft Office, then you would have the access to that. I don't know do you get like a free amount of OneDrive?
You do. It's very limited, but in Office, if you pay for it, you do get that 1 terabyte. And remember, if you're paying for a family plan, you get 1 terabyte per user on that plan as well. So that can add up pretty quickly if you have access to those other usernames. Real quick before we jump on to the next one, you guys mentioned something a couple of weeks ago about when Microsoft made the changes, and you were curious about what the basic version of Office gets you, the $299, the even lower plan. So that gets you access to Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint and Outlook in the web. So you can't download them or anything like that. You only get to use those tools in the web.
That's good to know, actually, because, I did wonder. It didn't mention apps, and I thought, is this just web-based?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, for some people, I think for people who aren't...
Are they any good on the web?
Yeah.
Accessibility-wise, I mean. Are they all right?
I don't remember. We'll
No,
just
me
say
either.
that.
I can't imagine. I mean, I know that they say that a lot of these apps on Windows now are kind of being based on web apps anyway. So in some ways, especially if you think about Outlook New, that is definitely more web-like in the way that you have to navigate it. So it's probably not that dissimilar to the website, really.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine.
Oh, I'm sure it's great. Yeah, I can't wait.
I'm sure it's fine.
That's why I have a
Give it
Mac.
go.
Right, let's move on. Wanting to go to a question from Galen. This is on the subject of portable Wi-Fi.
Dear Stephen and Shaun, do either of you use a pocket Wi-Fi device? What are the pros and cons? Are these devices accessible? We recently had a wind event in the Seattle area that knocked out internet service for 48 hours. A backup plan is necessary. Shaun, do you have a pair of long johns to wear while working in the shed? Stay warm, and thanks for the great content and interviews. Galen Floy.
That's a bigger and more important question, I
Yes,
think,
it is.
than anything else. Do you wear long johns?
No,
and if you do, you should give them back.
I do have a little oil-filled radiator in here that I switch on now and again. But no, it's quite toasty in here with all the computer equipment.
Yeah, I bet. I'm amazed
Your
that shed
equipment
still
can
stands.
get hot.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, with all the insulation foam as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so portable Wi-Fi, so powered by a SIM, right? Is that what we're talking about here?
Battery-powered device, yeah. So just a standalone device. There are a couple. Solos, I think it is. SOLOS. I think that's how you spell it. We were actually talking to, well, actually I wasn't, but our good friend Mark Aflalo was talking to them recently on his podcast. I think we played a clip of it here, actually, because there was a new one that had come out, which had a battery bank, a battery charger, and also 5G Wi-Fi built in. So you had that sort of portable everything in there. You could charge your phone, but you could also get internet connection off it as well. And the reason that one is particularly popular is because you can use it in a range of different locations. It doesn't attach itself to a particular plan. You just pay for 5G essentially. You just pay for a service and it works out where the best signal comes from. It's a really, really cool way to do it. And it is great for those survivalists. I just immediately think of survivalists when I think of this. People who are, buying tinned
zombie
goods.
attack.
Yeah, exactly.
Although it doesn't seem quite so outrageous.
No,
Anyway,
it doesn't. Funnily enough.
That's kind of high end, though, right? That's one of those things, as Mark said in the interview. That's one of those things that we'll search for a network near you and switch over.
Mm-hmm.
You can get just these burner Wi-Fi routers. Is that right, Mickey?
I think you can, but remember that if you have an iPhone or an Android or a blind shell, then that could just be your hotspot right there as well.
Yes, it can. I don't know, why would you need... I'm trying to think, what would you need? Because you still need the device to be powered up, right? So...
What do you mean?
Well, you still need your device to be powered up. In order, if you lose power completely in the house...
Oh, right. I see what you're saying.
You still need some power somewhere.
Was it power that was lost, or was it just the actual, maybe the internet line?
Yeah. See, the reason I think of this is because with my fancy MacBook Pro, I can go a day and a half on battery using that if I don't. Oh, by the way, back to the previous question, do not plug a Vocaster into a computer that's battery powered, because, I mean, you can, but it's going to suck that battery up real
like
fast.
a milkshake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, it is bad.
Thank you. Yeah.
But
I need a new sound effect.
If I don't have something plugged in to this computer, then it could last a day or so. And then I will hotspot to my phone often when our internet goes out. Although hopefully that doesn't happen with our new internet provider.
Some of the new or newer routers, whatever you want to say it, we say routers,
yes.
They have got 4G SIMs. Mine has a 4G SIM capability in it. So I can put a SIM card in there. Do you know, it was a Netgear Nighthawk, if I remember rightly. For gamers, I guess the idea of a gamer not being able to play games is just too much to bear if the internet goes off. So, and obviously, I think these things are built more for the sanity of parents than anyone else. It's like if the internet goes off, our lives are ruined. So, let's find ways to keep that internet going. So you can have a 4G SIM built in there. And lots of people now are investing in, if it's power is a concern as well, a lot of people are investing in those UPS type devices, these uninterruptible power supply units. Yes. You get lots of them for the home now. You can plug all your stuff in there, and it just gives you a little bit of security. It will certainly hold your devices up for a little while, maybe half an hour to an hour, depending on how much you plug in, depending on the size of the batteries inside. They all have their own sort of limits to how much they can handle. Used to be the domain, of course, of big server farms and server rooms in offices and stuff, but now you get these home units you can buy. APC sell them, and many others. And I've even seen like Ugreen, Anchor, I think have got a couple of these units now you can buy, and they're really good, but they don't provide Wi-Fi, but they do provide power, and that could power your router. It can power anything else you need. But yeah, I must admit, the last one I tried, and I've tried the Solos one. I do have a Solos 5G portable unit. It is incredibly inaccessible.
Do you?
I do.
Oh, okay.
But it's incredibly inaccessible because it has a tiny little screen on it, which is reminiscent to me of the old days of the Nokia phones with the 3 lines on the screen. And it's not the most accessible, but it is.
Forget it then.
But you can operate it through an app on your phone if you can get into the app, but the app wasn't particularly accessible either.
Oh, forget it then.
So yeah,
a lot of these boxes that you will buy from various networks, all the networks, whichever country you're in, will have some sort of box that you can buy, which will come with, say, a 3 gig data plan that will last for 3 months, let's say, but it will have an expiry date on it, and it can cost as little as $50. And you access that. It doesn't really matter about the accessibility. Basically, you turn it on and it just broadcasts an SSD, SSID, that you can connect to use that data connection. But Mickey is absolutely right. I mean, it's exactly the same as using the hotspot feature of your smartphone. On the iPhone, you will find it there, and also on Android, you can do the same thing.
Yeah.
Makes total sense.
Here in the U.S., I know this listener was in Seattle. At least with the major carriers, T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon, you want to check with them just to be sure. But I believe all three of them, even on their basic data plan, give you some amount of wireless tethering. But check into the pricing if that's a concern as well.
Well, I mean, bear in mind, you're not going to be able to do the same things you do on a plan like that you might be doing on your desktop computer, right? So a lot of data flies around. You have to remember that. So if you want to sit and watch Netflix or you want to download some files, you're going to run into some challenges, on a cost level if you're running that on a mobile data plan. So just make sure you're covered. We're out of time, guys, but thank you for all your questions. They were absolutely wonderful. Michael, as always, or Mickey, as we're now calling you, thank you very much. Once again, tell people how they can find you on Tinternet.
Sure. Unmute.show. It's the easiest way. If you want to find more, we've got lots of content to help you with your tech needs, answering your tech questions.
Michael, thank you as always. Come back soon. He never says goodbye.
No, he never does. He's just gone. Straight out the door.
Disappears out the door.
Goes.
No, you're done. You're done.
No,
That's it.
fine,
You're out.
thanks.
Get out.
Unmute.show. Check it out.
Yeah, that's it. If you can be bothered.
Yeah.
We are back with another double tap very, very soon. Two checks still talking, still here. But listen, that is it for us today. Thank you so much. And of course, keep in touch with your questions and answers as well to the questions we've asked today. Thank you, Shaun.
Thank you. Bye-bye.